We haven't done this in a while. Ba-da-ba-da-ba-da. Hello and welcome to a very special episode of The Brave Room. We have had a lovely 1 week break thanks to our new schedule. If you are wondering what happened to last week's episode, remember we're now back on the fortnightly schedule. With me today in The Brave Room we have...
Hi there.
It's Alex again. Because we have a lot of great topics that I'm pulling Alex away from his regular work to talk about. Yeah. So this podcast is literally this is the equivalent of a therapy session. We just come on this podcast, we talk about whatever we want, really. And then I find a way to bend it to make it like game industry related, so it counts as a work expense.
Indeedy.
Anyways, I don't know what we're talking about this week. We have a 50-50 split because the only thing I want to talk about is Cowboy Bebop. But I don't know if we're doing this as a spoiler cast of the live action Cowboy Bebop or a spoiler cast of the original Cowboy Bebop.
I think we should just do it of both of them because it's kind of hard to talk about either of them without spoiling stuff.
Yeah, or spoiling the other because, you know, the zeitgeist is the Cowboy Bebop live action that just came out. And if you want our thoughts about it, Alex has written a lovely review about it.
Indeed.
Go check it out. Especially if you are a small-time YouTuber who totally should have gotten the early access instead of us. We tell jokes here, people. We tell jokes here. But yeah, no, I should point out, you finished Cowboy Bebop. I have not finished it. The live action, I mean.
So I've seen the original Cowboy Bebop probably a good years ago. And so I watched the new one, early access and all that, and then I went back and watched the old one again just to kind of fresh my memory of it. And
oh boy, yeah, that's the worst way to like. No wonder you were so critical of it.
Well, I feel like when you do a review of something that's an adaptation, especially an anime adaptation, you kind of want to make sure. I just wanted to make sure my thoughts were straight. I wasn't just kind of remembering things from the original that weren't actually there. And yeah, spoiler alert: the anime is better.
Yeah. Sorry. Okay, so I think I watched it I was in the best position to watch live action because I was kind of watching the two simultaneously when we got our early access. Hey, thanks Netflix. But yeah, so I was very early on in my watch through of the original Cowboy Bebop because I had not seen it prior to this. Everyone was telling me to watch it, and like a fool, I said no. And then finally, I saw a Funko Pop of the Ballad of Fallen Angels, and it looks so beautiful that I was like, if you can make a Funko Pop look this good, I need to know where it came from. And so that's how I started watching Cowboy Bebop.
Nice.
But yeah, so like during my watch through, when I started the live action, I don't think it was that bad at first.
So my opinion of it, I can't remember the exact score. I gave it, I think, a 6, like high 6, low 7, something like that. And my opinion was it was slightly above average.
I think it's definitely one of the better anime adaptations. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like for me, I remember I was talking to Nigel a bit later after we published the review, just direct chat, and he was like, "Oh, so is it good?" I was like, "I don't know." The thing is, it had definite problems. It had really had definite problems. Real moments I was like, no, you please stop. But at the same time, it had a few good things as well. And when you compare it to, say, Death Note live action or Dragon Ball live action, it's better. It's not on the same level as those. So I have to give it credit in that regard. It feels like at the very least, the people who made this watched the original. Yeah, that's what it means to the other one.
Yeah. And the way I described it to my friend is, if you told me this was Firefly, and then, And then in an interview, the director goes and says, "Oh yeah, I really watched a lot of Cowboy Bebop growing up." I would say, "Hey, this is a pretty good show, all things considered."
Hmm.
But the problem is, they were like, "No, but this is Cowboy Bebop," and I was like, "Okay." Like, yeah, like you said, like there's some really, really good shots. Like I really like the cinematography for a lot of it.
Yeah. In general, I think everything with the production was good. Like, I hear a lot of people saying, "Oh, they look like cosplayers." It's just like, well, yeah, they look like the characters in live action. Of course, they look like cosplayers. And but even like the sets, the ship, it all looks fairly spot on to the original show, the original anime. So I even like the cinematography. It sort of tries to mirror the anime, where it has a lot of these like still shots or these very dynamic Dutch angles. Obvious attempt to kind of get that same sort of positioning that an anime would have. At least that's what I.
Yeah, okay, listen, as someone who only sees like MCU related stuff, it feels so good to have actual cinematography again. I was like, oh hey, cameras can rotate. Cameras can focus on objects that aren't Robert Downey Jr. Who knew? Oh man, like it's like, I wouldn't call it like Guillermo del Toro level, right? Because that man is savant, is the only word for that. But it was, it was noticeably better. Like, I can't even describe it because I'm not one of those types, those pretentious like filmy types saying, "Ooh, the cinematography tells you the." I know, but you do feel that little tingle when the shot's better,
Yeah. And of course, the music also. They brought back Yoko Kanno to do the score, and yeah, once again, it's good. It fits the theme. Like, no complaints there. It's a great score.
Yeah. It's just, I feel like the biggest problem for it comes from the fact that it's made by Americans.
Yeah, like I know you just mentioned like, oh, the MCU, but I think my problem is cinematography is not too MCU-ish. Some of the writing can feel very MCU-ish.
Yeah, no. So that's the thing. Like, my point with the cinematography is that it's not MCU-ish, but it's not just the writing. So on a straight up production level, you can see the Americanism go into it, and the first one is that it's an hour long. Oh, that's right.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. The first thing is that it's an hour long. Cowboy Bebop should never be an hour long.
No, I agree. I think the show was at its best. I think because the original Cowboy Bebop is super episodic. It's just 20 minutes. You go in, they track down this bounty hunter. Maybe they learn something about their past or about each other, and then they just move on. And when the TV show is like that, it's pretty good. But when they try and give it like an overarching plot, that's when I feel it really just dropped the ball. It did not carry the weight.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the worst part about the live action, is that it does have an overarching plot. Like, so you see Vicious in episode 1. Straight up. Vicious and Julia, who you don't even know is alive until episode 25. It's like, she is there.
It just feels like I'm not gonna say they didn't get the point of these characters, but I'm just gonna be honest. I'm just straight up, my biggest problems with the live action, because Cowboy Bebop's very character driven. The biggest problems were Vicious, Julia, and Faye, and we'll get to Faye later, but. Yeah.
Oh yeah, like any discussion of live action Cowboy Bebop, we gonna dunk on Faye.
Oh no. But yeah, it's just like Vicious in the original. Out of 26 episodes, he's in 5. Julia is in 1.
2.
And that's obviously very intentional.
She's in 2. Hey, she's in Real Folk Blues Part 1 and 2. Give her credit.
Yeah, but then she dies like halfway through the second one.
And only appears in the back half of the first one.
So yeah, it's 1 in a bit, basically.
Yeah. So, but so that's the thing, right? They are very seldom used.
And I mean, sorry, you go ahead.
No, it's your rant. Go on.
The thing is, with Vicious, in the original, he's scary partly because you don't know much about the guy other than he is a scary Sephiroth-looking dude with a giant katana, and he kills
a bird.
people. And a bird. They didn't even give him the bird in this version.
Let's be real. There was no budget for that bird.
There's a intimidation factor. He's unpredictable. You don't know when he's going to show up or what he's going to do. In the live-action one, you see way too much of him. You see his backstory, and his backstory is basically he has daddy issues, and he looks like Doc Brown. Yeah, the hairstyle did not translate well into live action. No offense to his actor, he seems like a nice guy, but
Yeah, I get that. It's just, here's the thing though, some people saying Vicious is lame in live action. I agree, but I also think that if you remove the fact that he's shot very well in the anime, he always appears in dramatic scenes and stuff. If you just look at him as if he were a person, Vicious is the biggest loser ever, even in the anime. In the Gren episode for the anime, he holds a combat knife in an Iaido stance.
I will not deny that he is a weeb. He is.
He is. But that's the thing. That's what I like about him. He is Virgil from Devil May Cry. He is a loser on paper, but every time he's on
Virgil, I wouldn't be surprised if Virgil took from Vicious, who in turn took from Sephiroth, who in turn took from someone else. Just it's an archetype, and they're just using it for all they can.
Yeah, it's great. But again, like you said, it's because you don't see Vicious that much. So every time he appears, you're like, oh, it's that fucker. It's great.
Pretty much. And, Julia, same thing, but different reasons. Julia, she's all mysterious. Don't know much about her, but I think the one thing that gets me with Julia is her whole thing in the live action one is she needs to learn to get out of this abusive relationship with Vicious, which, not a bad message and all that, but in the anime, she did. Before the start of the series, she already left him.
Yeah. It's okay, and that actually plays into my point. You can smell the Americanness injected into the Cowboy Bebop live action, because, like you said, it's a very introspective series, right? But the live action instead feels like these very American checkmarks for what they need to include, whether it suits the tone of the original or not. Like you said, a get out of an abusive relationship arc is a good thing, but it feels weird to put it into Cowboy Bebop when how is that related to anything? It just feels like, no, but we needed to have our girl power moment. See, Julia's a girl boss. Guys, Julia is a girl boss, literally by the end of the series, apparently.
I actually did like that bit just because Vicious was so lame. Julia's been boring up till now. The idea that we're just gonna push Vicious out of the way and just have Julia go psycho, it's different, but it's interesting. I think it could make the character of Julia in the live action more interesting, so I'm actually not against that.
From, like I said, because you watched it on me, I've only heard your secondhand account of this, but I guess your first-hand account, my second-hand account. But I'm curious to see what they do with it in future. But it's just from my seats right now, it just sounds like, okay, we needed to give the girl in the love triangle a girl boss moment.
No, that's sort of the big thing. I'm not sure I worded this the best, but in my review, I basically said the problem with the live action's plot is it feels very conventional, very it's sort of being restrained by your kind of usual Western TV drama tropes and archetypes. So, for example, by the way, basically a lot of the stuff I'm saying is stuff that was going to be in the review before we found out we couldn't spoil loads of it, and we also needed to cut it down. So that's why these are just blasting out. So, like, for example, and that's one of them, you need the girl boss moment, but you can see it in other characters like Jet. Jet has a daughter and a divorced wife now. Like, in the original anime, it's hinted in one episode he has a long-lost daughter, but yeah, you can kind of just feel that we need to give a it feels like someone in the studio said, okay, we need to give a character a daughter because that way we make him more relatable.
Yeah, and it's I should point this out. Like, I interviewed the director, Andre Nemec, and this point bothered me so much that I had to bring it up in front of him, which is that, yeah, no, I really like Anime Jet. Like, Anime Jet is a film noir character. He is straight up, like, out of a Pulp Fiction. He's this detective with, he's this former detective, sorry. And he's got this drama with his partner. He was in an accident. We don't talk about what the accident was, but he left the force after that. And, he was fighting the syndicate. And then there was the woman he was in love with. Oh, but she left him for another man. And she's there at the bar working. Like, it's very, very, like, it's powerful imagery. It's really cool. Like, it just looks cool. And suddenly now you have, like, live action Jet, who, by the way, Mustafa Shakir plays him really well. It's just,
I like Jet in live action. I thought he was, other than this daughter thing, which I don't think it was even that badly done. I just felt it was unnecessary.
Yeah, exactly. That's my point. Like, suddenly having him there, like, being like, oh, about my daughter, it's my daughter's birthday. Like, he didn't need a kid in the anime because Spike was his kid.
I mean, yeah, he's the dad of the team. He has three kids and a dog he needs to take care of.
Yeah. He literally runs out of money and can't afford food at one point.
Yeah, pretty much. Actually, one more thing. You said you watched the anime subs, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Mustafa Shakir, his acting, his voice is near identical to the dub voice of Jet, whose voice I can't remember his name now, but he did a really good job of that.
So okay. This is another point in my call that if you called it anything else, I would have liked it, is that he and John Cho get along so well.
Yeah.
And, like, John Cho plays a great character, but I don't know if that character is Spike.
I actually did like John Cho as Spike. I will admit he does have the occasional offline, but for the most part, I think he got down the mannerisms pretty well. I know a lot of people say he's too old, but to be honest, I always thought Spike was in his mid-30s anyway, so it didn't bother me.
Was this... I mean, considering the life Spike lives, like, yeah, he should definitely be, like, an older guy. But that was just as old as you were allowed to draw the main character of an anime in the 90s. Yeah. Remember, I am older than Misato was in Evangelion, and she was considered old.
Yep, that's anime logic for you. We're all going on to being senior citizens by that.
It's true. But yes, that's the thing though. He plays him well, but it's just that constant overhang. And I don't want to harp on this topic too much, but yeah, the one other, like, Americanism is the fact that there's very clearly a season 2.
Yeah.
It's just like we gotta keep this going.
Yeah, well, that's the big problem with all American television, because from what I understand, they basically just keep going until they get cancelled. And because of that, they've always got to sort of have a mini wrap-up, but also something to tease the next season.
Like Ed!
Yeah. I mean, not all of them, Game of Thrones, even though the ending was shit, Breaking Bad, they kind of had proper finales, but from what I've seen, a lot of American shows are just like that. Just keep going until it's confirmed that this is the last one.
Yeah, look at Stranger Things. Look at what they're trying to do to freaking Squid Game.
Is that getting a second season?
Oh yeah.
No. Doesn't need one though.
Exactly.
Oh,
One more thing, like I need to ask you about it since you watched. How much more of Gren do you see?
oh yeah, the other character people kept calling out Gran. Not a lot. I didn't mention him in my review, and because okay, he's inaccurate, and it's not just because he's non-binary, whatever. He doesn't look like the character. But the thing is, he's such a minor character in live action that I'm indifferent to him. I just kind of, in my mind, I just kind of say, well, he's just not the Gren of the anime, but he's also not a big deal, so
Yeah, that's what I felt was weird. Is that like they made such a big deal for like it felt like Disney's representation.
Oh yeah, totally.
Like we made such a big deal because I think I don't mind like if you wanted to have a non-binary Gren, that would have been an interesting thing to do, but you completely glossed over what Gren's story is. And that was the point of the character. You literally just went, oh no, but in anime he dude with breasts, so representation points, but not doing anything with the character. And also like, how is it they turned the nice shop lady into like a central character with her underground bar where the syndicate and cops aren't allowed? Like apparently she carries enough influence that she can create a ceasefire zone. Like that's a thing. Whereas like, in the anime she literally just runs a corner shop. I don't remember what her name, Anna? Yeah.
Yeah, so she's a syndicate member in the anime too, but that's the thing with the anime. It's just okay with just saying, how do I put this? It just, not everything needs to be so big. Sometimes people who had these dangerous lives just end up running the corner shop, It always sort of emphasized that, Spike and Jet, for all of their amazing backstories, are kind of, B-rate bounty hunters at best.
Yeah, that's a bit generous.
Here in the galaxy, they're just sort of scraping by. You kind of get the feel that these guys have had a life before now, and they're just kind of, what's the word, chilling it out in the meantime or something.
Just kind of coasting, really. Mm-hmm. And I do like. I wanted to make like a prediction for season 2 as well, just because I know how America works. Because my favorite thing about the anime is that shit is happening in the world. Like there was the gate disaster that destroyed Earth. There is whatever the lab was doing to Ayn. There is, Spike's backstory, obviously. There is the secret government experiment that created Pierre Le Fou. And, there's all this stuff is happening, and it's the anime is literally just like, we don't care.
Yeah, so Pierre Le Fou's another big example. Like, have you gotten to its episode in the anime?
I finished the anime already, yeah.
Yeah. So, like, in the TV show, he's specifically this hardcore assassin that Vicious sends after Spike. In the anime, no, he's just some escapes lunatic who just happens to see Spike and just like, yeah, I want to kill that guy.
To be fair, yeah, if I saw Spike Spiegel, I'd want to kill him too. But yeah, no, so this is my prediction for season 2 is they're gonna be, we replicated Pierre Le Fou, and now, and we found the secret of why the gates exploded, and now you have to fight an army of Pierre Le Fous, and yeah, no, it's...
Yeah, I can see it. Just make it a bigger scale than it really needs to be.
So, I think I do want to talk about the ending for the anime just because I really loved it, and no one in my real life wants to listen to me talk about it. But first, let's finish dunking on Faye. So Faye is like the typical, like she is the most girl boss checkbox I have ever seen.
Oh yes. The way I describe her is she is very Aquafina. If you've seen Aquafina in anything, yeah, Faye kind of just fits that to a T. She's this kind of eccentric yet trashy, I don't know what's the word, eccentric trashy street talker who's what's the word, who likes to swear a lot.
Yeah, Hey, numbnuts, you dumbos gonna get the bounty? It's
Yeah, that's another thing. Like in the original show, Faye was okay. She bounty hunted, but only when it was convenient to do so. Otherwise, she mostly laid on the couch and kind of manipulated the other guys to do stuff for her.
yeah, that was a whole thing, like where Spike didn't want to give her food because she wasn't pulling her weight.
And that was cool because thinking about Faye is it's not that, and first of all, for me it's not that she's not wearing the skimpy outfit or she's not like all sexual and stuff. It's just she doesn't feel like Faye Valentine in this version.
Yeah, no, and I think that's another thing that's really hard to translate into live action. It's this very old anime trope, and we brought up Misato earlier as well. Like I call it the Misato trope because like she was my first introduction to it. But yeah, it is the older woman who anyone who doesn't live with her would think she was the most lovely person on the planet. But the main character lives with her and is like, no, that is a horrible person. That is a monster. You do not want to get near that.
Yeah, she comes off as as like this kind of femme fatale, but when you actually look under the surface, she's a little slobby, she's a little lazy, and I don't mean that to say that she's bad or anything. It shows that she's more three-dimensional.
Yeah,
Faye
exactly.
isn't just describe in one word. She's not just the cool one or the slobby one. She's a bit of both.
Yeah. And just like the fact that she was in episode 1 was also just kind of like, I get it. You gotta have every major character has to be in episode 1. It's like unspoken TV rule. I think it might actually be a contract thing as well. I don't know.
Possibly. But yeah, I also feel that they just didn't give her I suppose her back. Another thing that I find just weird is her backstory, I guess. Then you can edit out all my stuttering. They in the anime they build up to it. It's okay. It's not exactly super melancholy or anything, but it's clear that it's supposed to be a very kind of I don't want to keep saying introspective, but a very kind of provoking scene for her, and she has a lot of mixed feelings about it, and it's something that we only find out towards the end of the series after being with Faye for a while. Here, she just literally, her second appearance, she's just like, I was frozen in time, and I need to find my fucking mom, because it's her mom now instead of her boyfriend or whatever. You're gonna tell me where the fuck he is, motherfucker, and I'm just like, already? Okay.
Yeah, no, I think that's the other thing, like, that the live action just kind of misses the point of. The point is, like, there is kind of like a rapport between the viewer and the characters, because the first time you meet Spike, he's literally just this chill dude who hates bell peppers and wishes he had enough food for meat. And then it's not until it's not until Ballad of Fallen Angels that you learn, oh no, there's something going on with Spike. And then it's not until the real folk blues. My point was, yeah, so the first time you see a character like Spike, he's just this chill dude who's broke. And then Ballad of Fallen Angels comes along, you're like, oh no, he's got a bit of a dangerous past. And then you get to real folk blues, and it's like, oh no, it's even better than what you thought it was.
Yeah, I get what you mean. It's another thing I'd say, it feels constrained by that sort of Western, you gotta be straightforward, you gotta give these you gotta tell the audience right away, what their deal is, otherwise they get bored or something.
Yeah.
So I think especially with the backstories, I think right away you gotta go, this is Spike. He's a former gangster. He wants to take down his partner. This is Jet. He has a daughter. He needs to take care of his daughter. And this is Faye. She was frozen. She wants to find out her past. That's the goal.
No, this is Faye. She's a girl, but she's a badass. # girl power. # woke.
Yeah, and it's even with the messaging, the one thing that I always got is that in the live action, actually no, I'll start with the anime. In the anime, so it's quite obvious that Jet doesn't know Spike's past, and they never outwardly kind of explain who he is or to each other, but you can see that as the series goes on, Jet starts to realize a few things, but it never gets. But it's still sort of nuanced, you know. You see that he still respects the guy, even if he's a little suspicious of him, and he genuinely cares for him. You know, there's a nuance to that.
Yeah.
In the live action version, Jet has to have a big speech about it's important to trust your partners, Spike. If we don't have trust, we'll fall apart. Oh, and by the way, did I mention I hate the Syndicate? I'm a former cop and I hate the Syndicate. I sure hope there's no Syndicate members here.
Yeah, and then Anna is just like, have you told Jet that you're from the Syndicate?
No, because later on, then Spike has to be like, oh golly whiz. I hope that Jet doesn't find out I'm from the Syndicate. He might kick me off and not want to be my partner if he knows that. And then at the end of the series, Jet's just like, so you're from the Syndicate. Well, I still like you, Spike, but you're dangerous, so we have to go our separate ways.
Damn. Yeah, I didn't even know about that. Yeah, that is a weird thing.
You know, like I said, it's just the show feels it feels like they just went way more conventional way. Just you gotta let the audience know and give them the things that will make them root for them.
So let us do the final 10 minutes, the real folk blues appreciation, because that is holy shit. Those are some of the best 2 episodes of anime I've ever seen.
The final sequence is just like you get what you mean when they say carry that weight, because you will never forget something that emotional. I never did. Most memorable in the show.
I think it was I can't remember if it was John Cho or Andrew Namek who described the anime as romantic. And I think like the last 2 episodes especially, it's just there's so many moments that just like that hit so good. Like I was depressed watching the end of Cowboy Bebop, knowing that I will never make something that beautiful. Like I don't know, just something about like, okay, so I lightly spoiled myself. Like I saw Jason fake one of my eyes is fake. It sees the future, the other one sees, and I thought like I'd watched so much shonen anime that I thought that was an actual thing he was saying, like, you know, an actual power he had because of how good a fighter he was. And then when I actually got to that scene in the real folk blues, I was like, oh no, it's so much better than that. Oh god, that's so good. Like the whole line is yeah, one of my eyes is fake, so every day now one eye sees the future and one eye can only see the past, or something like that. Like, yeah, that's good. And his yeah,
for me, it's one of those scenes that you feel that. You feel that it just hits you.
Yeah, you're not. It's like I hate to go snooty art critic on this, but you may not be an ex-mobster, but I think everyone can relate to that feeling. Like there is that one moment you're still looking back to, whether it was, you know, a good one or a bad one, I think. And then yeah, you know, then you have the "See You Space Cowboy" plays while Spike leaves the ship, and he's like, "I'm not going there to die. I'm going there to find out if I was ever alive." And it's just like, damn, you really gonna drop banger after banger just like that?
I mean, the final scene.
Yeah, I was working up to that as well. And he gets to like Vicious's room, and Vicious is like, "No one can kill you but me. Didn't I tell you that already?" And they get into the sick fight, and I assume Vicious is fucking dead by the end of that. And yeah, the fucking bang is just like, oh, that is good. And the cut to black, and so you're gonna carry that weight. Like, that is beautiful. That is poetic cinema. I hate being this pretentious about it, but it is really, really good.
Yeah, it's cool. It's exactly what I think of it as well. It's just, yeah, it just hits. You know, when the final song "Blue" plays, and it's just, yeah, it sums up the scene in a real in its own dark way. Spike has become free. He's free of the past, free of Vicious, free of the Syndicate, stuff like that.
And yeah, it's just like, I don't like, you just couldn't do this in an American produced show because you have to, you would have to fit it into the mold. Heck, I think even a modern anime couldn't do something that good.
I mean, there's some good ones, but Cowboy Bebop is like one of the best anime of all time, in my opinion, at least, for a reason.
Yeah, I can definitely see the praise for it. 'Cause, yeah, like I said, it is actually that good. Like, it's one of those anime that genuinely lived up to the hype. As someone who'd heard nothing but good things about Cowboy Bebop and never watched it. Like, at first, like, I can agree that, like, especially nowadays, if you're watching it for the first time, the episodic format can be a bit, like, weird. Like, especially once you start getting, like, hints of the plot. I can see people going like, oh, do we really have to talk about the space trucker? It's like, yes!
I liked it for that reason. In fact, I think a lot of Westerners liked it for that reason. It was kind of like, yeah, once you've watched it all, you just go back to your favorite episode, and it's like you don't have to worry about any plot stuff. It's just enjoy the ride, that kind of thing.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, that's just like so much good in that series. Like, the other really powerful scene for me was when Faye goes to her childhood home and, draws out the shape of her bed and just kind of sits there. And it's just like, yeah, it's really hard to do that in a live action scene as well because you need that level of control that you only get in animation.
Definitely.
And like the episode where, since we're going for, like, yeah, when Ed leaves the Bebop, like, I don't even remember what that episode was about, but the way that episode made me feel fucking stuck with me.
Definitely. It's just, there's no big goodbyes there again. It's not like there needs to be a big, Ed, you're leaving, but you should follow your dreams. She just leaves. And it just lets you linger on that feeling.
Yeah. Also, like, one last thing before we get out of here is that, the episode where Jet is, like, chasing after his dead friend?
Yeah.
And he brings the little girl on the ship. I love the fact that they comment that the Bebop smells like an ashtray. Like, suddenly, because there's a little girl there, like, suddenly you realize that, oh no, all three of them smoke. Like, to the point that they will smoke whenever and wherever they want. And it's only because there's a girl that Jet doesn't want to ruin the lungs of that suddenly it becomes like, that is the most realistic thing as someone who is friends with a bunch of smokers.
Yeah, I think that's the girl that apparently might actually be Jet's daughter, but once again, ambiguous in the anime.
Yeah, who knows? And I kind of like that. That's it's not the point. It's not the point who Jet's daughter is. It's not. It's not the point what happened between Julia, Vicious, and Spike. That like I legit don't actually know what happened between the three of them. Like, the hints are so vague that I'm against the idea of like going to a wiki to have it spelled out to me.
Well, it's a lot simpler than the live action show. I can tell you that much.
My understanding is Julia was working for the Syndicate as well? Question mark?
So Julia was with Vicious in both versions. In both versions, she has an affair with Spike. Vicious finds out, but in the anime version, being the very cold murder dude he is, he basically just tells her, okay, I want you to meet Spike and then fucking kill him. So she schedules the meeting with Spike, and then she can't go through with it, so she just runs away and leaves, and Spike just stands there with his bouquet before he leaves as well.
And then what point do they try to kill? Because he does still like almost die.
After that.
Okay. But yeah, no.
I don't know. They're very vague on it, which isn't so bad.
Yeah, again, it's a thing I like about it. It's like, here's all these things that happen, but none of it matters because here's the character's feelings. Also, yeah, that shot of Julia dying, excellent. That is...
I guess one final thing before we probably have to head off. So Ed needed to take 10 steps away from the camera in the action version.
Oh yeah. It's the making fun of live action Ed is a kind of a dead horse by now. But yeah, this is...
Sorry, I can't help myself.
No, it's okay. We couldn't record this episode last week, so yeah. Yeah, you do genuinely?
I actually think the girl who plays Ed...
it's not a girl, by the way.
What?
The person who plays Ed is a non-binary person.
Okay, is Ed the character in the show non-binary?
I have no idea. I spoke to Andre Nemec about it, and he didn't say shit.
All right. Well, I don't know. Anime Ed is still a girl, so I'm just gonna refer to her as that for now. I actually think Ed in the live action show was actually pretty okay. They just needed to not open with her about to eat the camera.
Yeah, fair. that is true, and there's nothing I can say that hasn't already been said by lots of people. But yeah, that is true. I wouldn't know how to solve this problem for live action either. The hair probably would have fixed it, but
like I said, I think the actual portrayal was mostly okay. Just don't start with that image.
Yeah, that first impressions matter, guys. That's the lesson to take here. And with that, we have another episode. Thank you guys so much for listening. Thank you to Alex for coming on.
Thank you, everyone.
Don't forget, leave a comment, 1,000 plays. I have to do something terrible, like maybe finish watching live action Cowboy Bebop. Yeah, leave comments like that. Remember, there won't be a podcast next week. We will be moving back to our fortnightly schedule. And take care, guys. Also, the first anniversary of the Brave Room is coming up. It's 18th of December, if I remember correctly.
Nice.
So take that into consideration, guys, and take care. See you.
See ya.